See, today's articles, there are not a lot of articles today. Uh, it's a repetition of whatever we've been discussing in the past few weeks. So I'll quickly sum up today's articles and today's tasks so that you don't have to spend a lot of time today. Okay. Okay, this one. Let's see the headlines first. Our External Affairs Minister, Foreign Minister, as they call it, he was talking about Quad. So the first task is Quad versus Shanghai Cooperation Organization, SCO. What is the purpose of Quad? What is the purpose of SCO? There are two different organizations. This is from prelims perspective, the first homework. I am not talking about membership, year of formation, these basic level questions. I am talking about the intent of the origin of the organization. Why do they exist? And if clash of values happen, how will they deal with it? See, the very fact that this point, position on terror, why is this a headlines even in the first place? See, if Quad is meant to handle terrorism, it wouldn't be a headline. What is the objective of Quad? What is Quad in the first place? What is the backstory? Why did it come into existence? The countries that are there in Quad, why only those countries? What is India's Indo-Pacific strategy? Indo-Pacific strategy. What is the significance of that region? These are the questions that should come up in your mind, for which you should search for answers. Okay, this is the step number 1. Moving on. That is the only thing that you will have to take away from this entire page, because other news items are really not that important for your prelims exam or mains exam. This issue of differential rates in tariffs between in India and United States, this whole issue of trade negotiations is a point that will cover ultimately when the issue is closed. The negotiations are still going on. There's no point in going by ball commentary, and it will waste your time. Okay, this one. There is a brand called Prada. This news item. Okay, there is a brand called Prada which imitated GI tag Kolhapuri chappal. What is GI tag? What is the geographical indication tag? In your GS3 syllabus, there is something called intellectual property rights. What are the different kinds of intellectual property? What are the laws that handle this intellectual property rights? Copyright Act, trademark, geographical indications. What are all this? What is the difference between each of those? It's like a quick revision of the static topic. To understand this issue, what exactly happened? This Kolhapuri chappal is having a GI tag. What is the purpose of GI tag? If in a certain region, a certain commodity has a unique identity. For example, Tirupati Laddu. The taste is so unique that you will not find it anywhere else. So, there is a GI tag. Meaning, nobody can use the tag Tirupati Laddu and sell it. Similarly, Kolhapuri chappal, there is a certain craft. It's like an art. There is some aesthetic element to that chappal. Nobody can blindly copy it and say Kolhapuri chappal. Or they cannot even copy the design. Not just the name, but also the design. What happened here is this brand called Prada in an international fashion show, it used the same design of a Kolhapuri chappal and priced it at 1.6 lakh. And there is no acknowledgement that this design is actually inspired from Kolhapuri chappal. And after they faced social media backlash, they came forward and accepted. There's nothing to accept, it's clearly visible. It's actually a blatant copy. Almost. That's when they acknowledged, saying that okay, this is indeed inspired from Kolhapuri chappal. This brings us back to the point: how do we protect our intellectual property rights? What is the difference between trademark, copyright, industrial design, GI tag? The differences therein, which are there in your static textbooks, that is the homework today. Please do it. Please copy. Please note down and finish it. Did you do yesterday's homework? Nuts and bolts diplomacy. Simple funda. We are talking about realism. This article written by C. Rajmohan. This person, C. Rajmohan, anyone with PSI or optional, use this terminology. Even in GS you can use this terminology. It's nothing but a fancy word to talk about the realist school of thought. Our interest is greater than ideology. Simple funda. What do you mean by nuts and bolts? What is the purpose of nuts and bolts? They give you a sense of modular. What is modular? For example, there are two blocks like this. You can put them one over other, or you can join them. You can do whatever you want with those blocks. Our way of handling diplomacy. What is diplomacy? It is a tool to further our strategic interests. Right? What are our strategic interests? Can you tell me what do you mean by this word strategic? See, we always talk about strategic partnerships in international relations. What is so strategic there? Yes? Yes, exactly. Anything that helps serve our interests without compromising our sovereignty. This is the most important thing. They're called strategic because they help us serve our needs, but they don't compromise our sovereignty needs as well. It is not like we don't have an alternative. Of course we will have alternative, but diplomacy is all about negotiation. It's a bargain. What are we letting go for getting something back? Right. Only when we give something that they want, they will be giving us something that they have. It's a two-way thing, right? So, in a strategic partnership, both the parties are not compromising on their sovereignty, their decision-making authority, or anything that will affect their stability and long-term interests. That is strategic interest. And India wants to maintain, what is the keyword? Strategic autonomy. It's nothing but realist school of thought, meaning that power is the ultimate winner. If India wants to become powerful, it should first serve its needs, Atmanirbharta. Anything that will make us self-sufficient, anything that will not affect us in our sovereignty needs, that is strategic interest. This article says that from many years we are a part of many international relations oriented organizations. In IR, in GS2 IR, you will see bilateral relations, multilateral relations, and the impact of this multilateral organizations and its impact on India's foreign policy. This is a syllabus line. As a part of this, IR syllabus, we will see multiple organizations. Let's divide these organizations into the ideological blocks that we have. For example, you have the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, and then you have BRICS, and then you have Quad. Then you have SARC, BeamStech. What else do you have? Anything that you can think of? Major ones. Yes? The third kind. G7, G8, G20, G33 and so on. Basically, Global South. So, in order to appreciate this article, you need to have a background of each of these organizations. If you want to understand why we are talking about all of this, you need to understand the background. So, let me slightly go back in time and explain the international relations aspect, the Gujarat Doctrine, neighborhood first policy, just like a story. We've had a Prime Minister, I.K. Gujral. He came up with a doctrine called the Gujarat Doctrine, where we wanted to take care of our neighbors. Okay. So, neighborhood first policy refers to taking care of the interests of our neighbors, namely Pakistan, China, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Nepal. Okay. This is the neighborhood first policy, where we are not expecting symmetric returns. Meaning, I give you 10 rupees, you give me 10 rupees back. That's not how we will deal with them. I'm giving you 10 rupees, so I'm expecting something proportionately equal, something worth 10 rupees. That is a transactional diplomacy. And our neighbors, either in terms of economic size or population, they're small. This doctrine, or the neighborhood first doctrine, is premised on one certain funda. If we don't take care of our neighbors, our enemies will come and help them, and they will be loyal to them. Having an enemy closer is worse than having an enemy far away. They are on our borders. It is much more cheaper and peaceful to maintain friendly relations with our neighbors than keep them as enemies. Correct? You don't have peace of mind. Just like how inside a home, if two people are always fighting, you would not be at peace. You would be very happy if they are far away and you will maintain those friendly relations once in a while. But if you are always at home and fighting, you wouldn't be able to survive that for a long time. Same funda here, neighborhood first policy. As a part of this, we have started entering into multiple, partnerships. Each block had different funda. For example, BeamStech. This is mainly meant for economic cooperation. SARC. This is meant for all-round development. Question is, why not include both of them together? Because if you are saying this is an all-round development, why not include? Why is there a duplication of effort? Simple funda, India and Pakistan are not gelling well. So the entire issues are getting derailed because of ideological differences. Since these organizations are not working, we started focusing on Shanghai Cooperation Organization, where partners of Pakistan are also a part of this. So the agenda here is terrorism, handling terrorism, regional security. This came in the backdrop of NATO trying to attack Russia. China was also feeling a similar threat. Actually, it is the threat for many other countries, but to maintain that power control, they are a part of this. India joined the bandwagon primarily because they are not able to handle Pakistan well. The neighborhood first doctrine is not going to work. We have had multiple attempts. 1999, we had our Prime Minister traveling to Lahore in a bus just to prove a point that we are here for friendly relations. What happened a few months later? Or just around that time, I don't remember the timelines exactly. Kargil War. Samjhauta Express. A train from India moved to Pakistan. Nothing really changed. So what did we decide to do? We stopped playing cricket with Pakistan. Did it work? Not really. What will work? So we decided to move to other organizations like this. Okay, the funda, all of this is not discussed in the article, but since you might not have a context of international relations and the kind of questions you might be getting in the mains exam, I am setting that context here. So the existence of multiple organizations like this, where the interests of individual countries are coming in the way of serving the larger agenda of these organizations, this is a roadblock for diplomacy. What's happening here? Ideology or the tensions between two countries. It need not always be India and Pakistan. It can be some other country. Let's say India and Pakistan is one situation where China is having a problem with some other country and it will stall the discussions there. For example, ASEAN. It's purely an economic bloc meant for improving the economic status of those countries. See, there will be a lot of fancy words used in international relations. Comprehensive economic partnership, free trade agreement. The levels of economic integration is something that you should be revising. Levels of economic integration. Please go back and read this. This is important in economic diplomacy angle, trade diplomacy. Tariff, non-tariff barriers. Okay. WTO, subsidies. Revise all of this. So predominantly GS3 homework today. So overall question, what kind of question can you expect from this article? India should conduct its diplomacy with an objective to serve its strategic interests. Comment in the context of the conflicts arising in different multilateral organizations that India is a part of. This is one probable question. So how will you structure your argument? First, start with why India is a part of different organizations. And then showcase each of these organizations. First, list them according to the thematic category. Economic blocks, strategic means comprehensive all-round development based blocks, and security blocks, and showcase through flowcharts how one thing is coming in conflict with another. For example, we just discussed, right, Quad, which is an economic partnership block, is actually coming in the way of our negotiations at SEO. I'll tell you the backstory. Let's put diplomacy aside. The reason why Quad came into existence is it became a sort of an answer for Belt and Road Initiative of China. What is the Belt and Road Initiative? China amended its constitution in 2013 and said that if China has to retain its position as the global economic power, they should build infrastructure across the world so that Chinese goods are reaching there. They started building ports, they started building roads, and they did everything in their control to maintain that presence everywhere. And here, in this context, you should know the terminology that India uses for Indian Ocean. Can you tell me what is the official terminology that India uses? Yes? No. Official terminology to describe the importance of Indian Ocean for Indian diplomacy. It's called the strategic backyard. This part, everything south of Sri Lanka, Indian Ocean. It's called the strategic backyard. Why? Why are we calling this the strategic backyard? Can you tell me? Please be a bit louder when you're telling your answers. Ship lines, exactly. Sea lanes. Navigation. Can you tell me some important choke points? Do you know what is a choke point? How many of you don't know what is a choke point? Okay. Choke point means if you are in international waters, you arrive at a point. If something happens there, it's like a traffic jam. Just visualize a traffic jam. For example, Suez Canal. It's a small passage through which ships pass. Imagine if it's actually happened, right? Last year or before last year, a huge ship got stuck because the water was not able to. We didn't have enough water. The soil and everything, the dredging part was not done properly. So the ship got stuck in a very awkward position, which completely blocked the way. And it took a few days to clear that. You know what happened as a result? Prices shot up because to reach this point, either Mumbai or Chennai or any other port, they come through this European part from Suez Canal. If that is not the case, they'll have to travel via South Africa and reach us. The cost of fuel will actually increase multifold. Time will also be delayed. And this will increase the insurance premiums for the shipping industry. Shipping industry will have an insurance premium. You are getting goods from Europe to India, for example. What if the ship sinks? It's a complete loss for the exporter, right? So, to safeguard that, exporter is expected to pay some insurance premium. Exporters will not be interested in paying higher premiums because they will eventually have to pass on those premiums to the end user. Not only that, see the vulnerability of India. Take the case of 26/11. How did the terrorists enter into Mumbai? Again through sea route. So it is called a strategic backyard primarily because it is going to impact our sovereignty. Sovereignty doesn't mean only internal security threats, right? It can also be anything that will impact our freedom. We want to buy things at a cheaper cost, but something is affecting our decisions that will make us lose that leverage, that freedom. What is that issue that is disturbing our freedom? The presence of an enemy in this region where we are not at peace. India historically has a image of not being an aggressor. Take a look back at Indian history. You don't have many instances where India actually went abroad and colonized, except a few instances, like say for example, the Chola Empire. They moved towards the eastern part of the world. They're called Imperial Cholas, though. Probably the only kingdom in Indian history to have had that tag. Apart from them, we never had any history of being imperialists. So, having an awareness, again, when I'm talking about awareness, I will introduce one more term. You can go to the Telegram channel, Hindu Highlights, and see this maritime domain awareness. MDA. I'm introducing some terminology which you have to definitely understand from a 360-degree perspective. Okay? Usage of these terms is what gives you marks in the exam. You need to be aware of how to use them, in what context, why you should be using them. Maritime domain awareness refers to understanding the sea floor, and also not just the sea floor, entire maritime space from a surveillance standpoint. Are enemy ships loitering in that region? Are the international ships which are a part of this navigation sea lanes, which are on international waters? Let's say an Indian ship is coming into our territory. Are we feeling safe? Is there a threat from piracy? Is there a threat from Chinese naval vessels? Is there a submarine? Is there a sea mine which can attack? Is there a possibility of a missile attack, either on our navy vessels or merchant vessels? All of this will determine the trade and sovereignty of this country, and therefore, since most of the global trade happens through these Indian Ocean region, because you don't have an option apart from navigating this Indian Ocean region to enter into Southeast Asia. Traveling the other way around, you might look at a globe and say, why not just come from the other side, from Pacific Ocean? It's easy to say that, but in reality, if you understand the vastness of the ocean and how our actual globe is, it would take double the amount of cost than coming through this region. And it's not safe. It's not at all safe, that region. There are thousands of miles where you wouldn't find a piece of land. Imagine a situation where there is a fuel leakage, oil leak happening there. The ship is drowning. You have no one to reach out. And those regions are just for military stability, not for economic purposes. So this is a very important region. That is why US wants to have a presence here. Can you tell me a place where US has presence in the Indian Ocean? Any name that you can think of? Diego Garcia. You will get questions on major powers having their naval bases in different parts of the world. China, US, India. Not just naval bases, but also air bases. Clear? Diego Garcia. So, US has this Indo-Pacific strategy where they want to maintain stability in that region. They want to give democracy to the world because it will impact their markets otherwise. Similarly, China wants to control this region. And the name itself is Indian Ocean. Don't you think we will have a say in that region as well? It's not like we own this place. You have something called UN clause. You know what is UN clause? Law of Seas, UN Convention on Law of Seas. According to this, what is the definition of an Indian maritime territory? How much, to what extent can we claim that this is mine? Up to 200 nautical miles. What about 12 nautical miles? There is something called 200. What is that? What is the difference between territorial and economic exclusive economic zone? Okay, I see some confused faces. Take this as a homework. What is UN class? How exclusive economic zone, maritime boundary. What is the significance of this 12, 200, and how this is central for maritime boundary disputes? Okay, these are the things that you need to study as a part of today's homework. What are the homeworks that I'm giving you? IPR, different blocks, multilateral organizations, the reason for their existence, a comparative study of each organization, UN class, how is it related to certain terminology, what is the article on maritime domain awareness, MDA, and then finally we are talking about the concept of now blue. Anyone? Will you complete? Blue water navy. This is from security standpoint. From economic standpoint, we will talk about the concept of blue economy. Yes. And finally, we are talking about SDG goals, life underwater. Is it SDG 14? Anyone? 14? What is SDG 14? See, I might forget. The numbers are probably not important because I will not be writing the exam. I can go back, refer and tell you this is important. But there are certain things where you have to definitely mug up and put it on your fingertips. Clear? Look at that SDG. So these are the things that you need to study to maintain a complete 360-degree understanding, complete holistic view on international relations in maritime space. Not just maritime space, the overall agenda. If India wants to keep itself safe, to maintain its sovereignty, protect from all directions. Philosophically speaking, if you are a bit spiritually inclined, there is this concept of Panchabhuta or Panchatattva, right? Or Ashtadigbandhana is a strategy used where you are, circling the enemy from all the directions. So when you're talking about Panchabhuta, it is air, land, fire, water, and sky. In all the elements of nature. So our presence should be there in every domain so that we protect the sovereignty of this country. Air diplomacy, naval diplomacy, trade diplomacy, technology diplomacy, every possible way where India's sovereignty can be affected. The nuts and bolts strategy is talking about that. We don't have to worry about ideology. The conflicting blocks which are stopping India's growth should be discarded, put aside, negotiate with dehyphenation policy strategy. The nuts and bolts policy is nothing but dehyphenation. Detach yourself from the ideology. Unless and until India's needs are first addressed, You don't have the moral right to talk about what is right and wrong, because there is something that Indian interests are itself at stake. And that's probably the best way to handle the present global order, which is running not on rules but on interests. We want to create a rules based world order, but it takes two hands to shake. You can't have only one way and say that we will create a rules based world order when rules are not respected. Take a look at what's happening in US. World Trade Organization, it's gone for a toss. Paris Climate Deal, gone. No respect for any international organizations. UNSC, when was the last time UNSC was effective anyway? It's very effective in the case of Russia, Ukraine. Very effective in Israel, Palestine, Hamas issue. Almost so much that UNSC via Pakistan recommended Nobel Peace Prize to Donald Trump for saying that I am helpless in dealing with the conflict between Israel and Iran. Anyway, let's come back. So these are the things that you will have to study. Not so important. Again, not so important. This one. The funda is very simple here. In eastern part of the country, tigers don't take transit passes when they move across the state. It's not like they stop at a toll gate and ask for, a toll ticket. They just move in the corridors that they have. So this is corridor based conservation. What do you mean by corridor based? See, there are some pockets. How do tigers live? The whole concept of corridor based conservation is that tigers require a certain kind of an ecosystem or a habitat to survive. What is that ecosystem? You need to have large pieces of land where they can hunt, where they can move freely, where they can reproduce. And there are some areas, just like how water moves from a higher point to a lower point, tigers move from denser areas to sparsely populated areas. Sparsely populated, not human population, tiger population. Okay? If they come into contact with human beings, that is the origin point of wild animals and human conflict. That is another issue which we will deal later, the measures, etc. therein. But what is the point that you need to observe in this article? There are many wildlife sanctuaries and national parks given in this article. I want you to open Google Maps and take a look at each of the tiger reserve, wildlife sanctuary, national parks. This activity might take 20 minutes, but that is fine. Completely worth it. Because you will get a holistic understanding of how there are many takeaways. You will get a holistic understanding of one. If you go back and read your environment basics, you will revise the difference between wildlife sanctuary, national park, Project Tiger, Wildlife Protection Act, the various schedules and the latest amendments. All this will be covered in the conservation aspect. 2. When you actually open Google Maps and have a look at all these areas, you will get a clear-cut picture of various tiger reserves, various national parks, their location. So if a question is asked, which of the arrange the following from east to west, west to east, north to south, you are not completely stumped. Am I expecting that you will remember all of them in a single sitting? Probably not. But the next time when you are preparing for prelims somewhere from January, things like this will bring back those memories. Familiarity reduces discomfort. So your preparation should start right from day one, where you are getting yourself familiar with these concepts. Okay? So have a look at this article from that standpoint. Nothing that I have to explain. This source to sink, the point that is there is nothing but how they move from densely populated areas to less sparsely populated areas. Simple. Now the last one that is important for the day is the signs of monsoon. Simple funda, again same funda here. How does pressure system build? They move from higher pressure to lower pressure, which is the basis of monsoon. Okay. Similarly, you have something called Madden-Julian oscillation. Madden-Julian oscillation. These two concepts, which are taught in your basic geography classes about pressure systems. So, how each one of them, revise monsoon, Madden-Julian oscillation, ENSO, El Nino, La Nina, all these concepts, how they impact monsoon, the basic funda. If you don't know them, again this will take another half an hour for quick revision, but again it's completely worth it because you don't have to revisit these concepts again. So when you're doing these articles, if they're taking like 2-3 hours, don't think that it's a waste of time because you're not getting anything in return. That's not how you are supposed to study. When a topic is asked, when you are seeing a trend, here most of the articles are 80% of it is static. You are revising static here. By doing whatever homework that I'm asking you to do, you are revising static. Rest 20% you are doing it for not more than half an hour. The static part is taking 2 hours or 3 hours. But unless you spend that 2 hours initially, you will not develop the ability to link static and dynamic. And that when you must have already heard that questions are asked based on the static concepts, but they're linked to the current affairs. How? Because the context is set in newspapers, which you will not understand in the magazines. Because just like how you can't eat an entire week's food in one day, a monthly magazine cannot be consumed in 2 days. Even if you do it, the amount of retention is very poor. The ability to give it time and think and train your mind to react faster is very poor. So am I saying that they are useless? Absolutely not. There is a lot of hard work that goes behind it, but the methodology you are deploying to use them just as a source for a first time revision or a first time learning, that is a problem. There might be issues where you must have missed in newspapers. So those magazines help you compile them. But looking at them as sources which needs to be mugged up and replicated is not going to work. And that is not a problem of the source, that is a problem of the method. No magazine will be bad. There's a lot of hard work that goes behind it. They're doing the hard work for you. But if you don't know how to use that, that's your problem. Reading newspapers is a methodology of training your mind to think in free flow, where you're not constrained in your thoughts. That can happen only through activity, not just by sitting in the class. So this is like a directive where you are asked to flow in different directions. Like this is the path you have to take, this is the path you have to take. Correct? So this is the summary of today's articles. That's it for the day.